those packages get stolen.
Not really.
She knows it was supposed to deliver today, so just tell her got here. Thank you.
Robert Kraft said he was disappointed that the dynasty focused so much on the negativity. Didn't he run that shit?
You mean happy endings?
They didn't talk about a lot of happy endings there. I mean, they talked about the Super Bowls a bit, but whatever you had to do.
Just so that the camera's farther back.
Oh, good call. Look at you.
Get a little more.
There we go.
So we can both fit on the screen, maybe.
I want to talk Shohei a little bit too. I think we'll open with that.
Shohei.
Great.
Did I send you the one thing today where somebody was like, yeah, I don't believe that for shit until Ipe's in the slammer.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Until Chargers are pressed and Ipe's in the slammer, I'm not buying.
Did you see this one I sent you? It all starts adding up now. I mean, that's some Michael Jordan type shit right there. All right, here we go.
I like this one. Pete Rose should have had an interpreter. Then
he would have been Scott. He was quoted
saying.
saying that. Oh, man. Hello, Degens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes. I, of course, am the Brofix one. AJ joining me, as always, is the man with the number, sportsbook whisperer, college basketball guru, daddy of the diamond. All hail the king of the links, the prince of the props. And I got to know, does it get old hearing all of those? The money train, Noah, live from his couch.
We love it. I love it. Give me the recognition. I'm gonna
You deserve it.
do a little thing with the lamps real quick and maybe help the lighting a tiny bit.
Yeah, go
we'll
ahead.
see.
Do your thing with the lamps. We're coming off of an exciting first weekend of March Madness. Took the day off yesterday because I don't know about you, know, but I was tired as hell the entire time. I mean, dude, so much chalk, especially coming on that Sunday slate, that Saturday slate, that round two. What was it? 15-1 underdogs were. I mean, excuse me, favorites were ATS or something like that, or was that straight up? I think it was straight up.
Straight up. Who was the one dog? Oh, Clemson. Clemson was the one dog who won.
No, North Carolina. Or were they favored in that game?
No, they were favored.
They were favored in that game.
Oakland,
Again,
the NC State, not UNC.
Yes, the good North Carolina.
Yeah.
I guess we can say that now, the good North Carolina.
Well, they're both still in it.
Yeah, true. But no, I mean, a lot to break down from the tournament and everything like that. But what is your one headline? If you had to break down the tournament in one headline, besides chalk, how would you break it down?
Yeah, you stole my headline. Shit. I mean, chalk.
I know, it was
like,
very chalky.
Like chalk. And then the other big thing, though, all of these coaches and programs that have been labeled March Madness chokers, still in it. You know, you got Rick Barnes, you got Marquette, not necessarily Shaka Smart, because he went on some runs when he was with VCU, but didn't ever do anything with Texas and hasn't done anything with Marquette yet. Creighton's been labeled as March Madness chokers. And then obviously our alma mater, Arizona, and then also Purdue, the kind of the five main teams / coaches. I'm lumping Rick Barnes in there because he's been labeled the choker since his Texas days.
I think that's fair.
And all of them are still in it. You know, all getting, 1 through 3 seeds, all still in it. And so,
hey, by the way, you mentioned
monkey off the back.
Yeah, fair enough. And mentioning Texas, just wanted to ask, because I'm having trouble finding it. When are they playing next in the tournament?
They're not.
Oh, they're not. Oh, shit. Okay.
They got taken out by former coach Rick Barnes, who, if he ever leaves Tennessee, he's got, what's he got, like 1 or 2 options? He started at Clemson, and then he was at Texas, and then Tennessee. So he's got to go to either like Oklahoma State or
Syracuse is the other one I saw. Which
Oregon State, if he really wants to go down that path.
He could if he really wanted to. And honestly, I'd probably like that Oregon State job more than I would like that. No. OK State. I kind of like Oregon State job more than OK State.
Probably Syracuse and then Oklahoma.
Wait,
State.
Oregon State's the one going to another conference, right? They're not in the Pac-2.
No, they're part of the Pac-2.
They're the Pac-2. Never mind. I lied.
Half of the Pac-2.
I lied. I got my Oregon schools mixed up. But
who will, by the way, earn more money the farther Arizona goes in the tournament?
Oregon will?
Yeah, Oregon State and Washington
Oh,
State.
yes.
They are, the two of them are splitting the entire Pac-12 revenue for the entire tournament, which I think is wonderful.
It's awesome.
Good for them. I think they're at like 18 million currently.
Wow.
And if Arizona keeps playing, that number is just going to go up.
Well, hey, I mean, I like our chances against Clemson this week, but we'll get into that later. But no, actually, let's stick on our alma mater, Arizona, real quick. I mean, the concerns that we've had at the beginning of the season and throughout the season are still there, but I felt a little bit better watching those tournament games and us handling those teams than I have in the past.
Yeah, well, yeah. Long Beach State, we took care of business.
Yeah.
In the second half. First half was a little close for comfort. And then
shitting myself in the first half.
And then
at work.
Dayton got out to a great start, and we were really sloppy with the turnovers against Dayton.
Yeah.
And still beat them by almost double digits. I'm not too worried about Clemson because they don't get a lot of steals and takeaways. But get after Clemson, then I'm worried about the turnover issues that we had in the first two games.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I'm like, oh God, okay. Because we can ball out. We can
ball.
We have these sloppy ass turnovers that might bite us in the ass at some point.
Yeah, and that's kind of U of A's motto, and we're gonna be, I mean, what, we're 4.5, 5.5 point favorites right now against Clemson. What the hell is that line at?
I thought it was like 7.5.
It might be 7.5. I might have seen it open at 6.5. But I mean, we're favored going into the game. Nothing that should shock us. I mean, we're homers, so we're definitely going to be on U of A, right?
7.5 is what it's hanging at right now.
That's not bad.
Which I believe, yep, that's the second largest spread.
Behind UConn at 10.5?
Behind UConn. Yep, I was good. If you weren't looking at the lines, I was going to say, what do you think it is? Because Marquette over NC State would have been probably most people's guess, but no, UConn favored by 10.5 over SDSU.
Which, I mean, until we get into the Final Four, I really don't think we'll see UConn favored by less than double digits with how they've been performing.
Yeah, and SDSU has been interesting because they've been one of the most efficient offensive teams in the tournament.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They got much like Alabama, they got the blessing of playing a 12 and a 13 in the first two rounds. Alabama, same boat. Very efficient offensively. They've both been terrible on the defensive end, though. So I don't really like either of their chances going forward. Alabama is playing on borrowed time. They've been playing on borrowed time since they entered this tournament. Yeah, somehow ESPN analytics like Alabama over North Carolina.
No, you're telling me ESPN.
Oh, they switched it, but like a day or two ago, ESPN said Alabama had a 52.2% chance of winning.
Well, listen, the SEC bias doesn't die in college basketball. I think we can go ahead and confirm that.
ESPN also doesn't know their head from their ass. So,
I was trying to think of a time they did, but now, oh no. Mike Greenberg had that great quote one day with 7 seconds left on the clock. Human beings at stake here. One shot left. I want Iguodala. No, his head was pretty far up his ass.
No, that's not
true.
Mike Greenberg.
Speaking, was that not Greenberg? Who the hell was that?
I don't even know who Mike Greenberg is.
Who was it? Wasn't Greeny. It was that guy that used to be on First Take.
Yeah, fuck. Why am I blanking on his name? But definitely not Mike Greenberg.
No, it was not Mike Greenberg. That's my bad. Has to have a green in his name.
No, he doesn't. It's
that white boy.
Yeah.
Oh, pull it up.
Max Kellerman.
Max Kellerman. Damn.
Yeah.
Shout out Max
It
Kellerman.
was on the tip of my tongue. I had to look it up though because it was going to take me too long to get there.
What a dog.
Yeah.
I
like Kellerman.
Yeah, I do too. Any teams this weekend, Noah, besides Kentucky, who really stuck out as kind of, why the fuck were you even in this tournament?
I mean, Kentucky obviously, based on what they did this regular season, deserved to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they deserve their 3 seed too. I would have, entertained an argument that maybe they should have been a 4 instead of a 3. But really, this is what we were saying about Kentucky going in, right? Is they were this dangerous team that could lose in the first round.
Yes.
Much like we
Much
said
like-
about Arizona, and that proved to be true for Kentucky.
Yeah, it did. Shout out to U of A, still moving on as
They
we've
got
talked about.
torched by the 3-point shooting.
They
real
got
quick.
murdered.
Yeah.
They got
But-
murdered.
I mean, other than Kentucky and Auburn, 2 SEC teams, nothing really earth-shattering. I mean, we
No.
had upsets, but the rest of them we kind of had on our radar. Like GCU and JMU, we were eyeing those up. We had those picked.
We were off on McNeese and Moorhead.
Yeah, but as far as like picking upsets, those were the only two that were like kind of shocking, at least to me, that that I wasn't expecting.
Fair enough.
Or that I didn't think were in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah.
Because I know I had Auburn in the Sweet 16. I thought they weren't going to have any problem with Yale. I didn't think they were going to have any problem with Yale, and I didn't think they'd have a problem with San Diego State or UAB. I was wrong about that.
Yeah.
I was like, Auburn's a really, really damn good team, and it's super unfortunate that they're going to have to play UConn in the Sweet 16. Well, they didn't even make it out of the first round.
Well, no, they had to play Yale. And honestly, no, I'm to the point with how Princeton performed last year against us, how Yale's performed against Auburn this season. I mean, are we
shit on bad against San Diego?
Oh
State,
no, they took San Diego State took a nice OBJ on them, that's for sure. But I mean, I feel like you and I, especially as college basketball people, need to start paying a little bit more attention to the Ivy League and what they're doing and looking for these first round upsets. We're 2 for 2 in the last 2 years. And I know that's not a big stat, but
well, if you go back the last 10, the Ivy League's
well, that's why I said 2, Noah.
I was going to say you go back the last 10, the Ivy League's actually pretty good in the first round.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the Ivy League usually, there are only 8 teams in the Ivy League, maybe 10.
Yes.
And I think there's 8.
8 sounds right for Ivy League.
And usually 4 to 5 of them are complete dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 are good and 1 to 2 are mediocre. And so it's hard to judge them, but based on tournament success, I think you got to watch out for them. I don't know how Princeton got a 15 seed.
I don't either. That was bullshit last year.
Yeah, that was just terrible seeding by the committee there, but
god awful.
Yeah, Ivy League's been pretty good.
Ivy League's been solid
early. They don't ever usually make it past the Sweet 16.
But definitely a team I think next year we need to be looking at. Like, okay, what Ivy League school is playing in the first round? And do we think they have a real solid chance? Yale was different because they just won their tournament, right? And they got an AQ.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't even give them a chance was because they barely beat Brown, who was
That's right. Yeah, they barely beat Brown.
Brown was kind of shitty, and they barely beat Brown.
That's right.
Almost lost to Brown. If Brown was in the tournament, they probably would have drawn a 15 rather than 12.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't have had any faith in them doing jack shit.
No, that would have been funny, honestly, seeing Brown in the tournament. But how are you feeling about Illinois still somehow holding on, fighting on?
A lot of people are hyping up this Iowa State Illinois game because you got the number 1 offense right now against the number 1 defense, or close to it, depending on which metrics you're looking at. Some have Iowa State as the best defense. Some have Houston. I believe maybe the difference is after that A&M game. Now Iowa State's maybe number 1.
Yeah.
We can take a look at KenPom here real quick and see what the updated KenPom rankings are. Iowa State still sitting number 2 at defense, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yes, you are.
Houston's still at 1.
Who the hell's at 3 then?
That would be Tennessee.
Okay, makes sense.
And then I love Rutgers sitting there at 4.
Shout out to Rutgers.
Just saying, yeah, we're good at defense. I got 2 5-stars coming in next year.
Really?
That'll be interesting.
Holy shit, Rutgers might actually win a couple more games.
Yeah, they have 2 of the top 4 in next year's class.
Damn.
I don't know how.
How? NIL. Shout out to NIL. That's the only way that Rutgers could get that. You kidding me, bro?
Well, one of them's kind of like a legacy, if I remember correctly.
Well, legacies don't count then.
I think it's another Harper because you had Ron Harper.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then Ron
yeah,
Harper
yeah.
Jr. went there, and I think it's the younger brother.
Okay, then that makes sense.
But Rutgers could be good if those freshmen show up.
Yeah, if they get popping, they get going.
Let's see. Let's look at 24/7 Sports. Oh, that's right. One of them decommitted.
Oh, so only one coming, but still, that's one more than I would expect going to
No,
Rutgers.
never mind. This is looking at recruiting classes. Rutgers sitting at the third best recruiting class.
Oh my god!
Arizona at 4th, Duke 1, Kentucky 2, and then Missouri at 5.
Wow.
Missouri, who didn't win a single fucking SEC game this year.
Yeah, they might be a team to. I mean, I wouldn't say look out for, but definitely pay attention to.
Yeah.
Dylan Harper.
Dylan Harper with a 99 grade, and then Ace Bailey.
Whoo!
Yeah, number 2 and 4 in the nation, respectively.
Wow.
So
Rutgers going to be fired up next year.
a pair of really good freshmen. I mean, Arizona's going to be great, though.
Oh yeah, we're always great though.
Look at that class.
I want to look at that real quick.
Boom.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. But hey, speaking of, we're talking.
Oh, Sinan's not on there.
Not
'cause
on there yet.
He was number 9 in the class of 2025, but he's
Oh, is he reclassifying?
graduating a year early. That's why he's got an NA for his rank in this class. But yeah, he's a 5-star.
Hell yeah. I like U of A. I like how Rutgers is honestly turning out. But Noah, a lot of change comes in college basketball around this time, including JMU's head coach going to Vanderbilt, and which I mean, that's not a move that I think a lot of people are going to talk about. But when I look at a JMU and not only the college basketball program, but the athletics program as a whole, just on this absolute upswing.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? On this absolute upswing, and then you go and take a shitty job at Vanderbilt. What the fuck has Vanderbilt done in any sport except baseball in the last 5 years?
I mean, it's an SEC job versus a
Sun
Belt job.
Yeah,
there's more money. You've got more recruiting tools at your disposal.
But honestly, it feels like I'm drinking hard beer, a full Bud Light. No, Coors. I'm drinking a full Coors, and then I'm going to Coors Light. I don't give a shit if it's an SEC job or not. It's the worst SEC job you could possibly ask for. Yeah, come on, name a worse SEC job, please.
I don't know.
Please.
I don't know. We'll see. I think when you got coaches making these type of jumps, sometimes this is what flips a program.
True. That's also true.
And it's not going to be overnight success.
Oh God, no.
It's Vanderbilt. I think DeVries is going to be set up okay at West Virginia, mainly because he's getting his son Tucker to come with him, who's going to be an immediate impact player there at West Virginia. I mean, I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with Louisville.
Yes.
Apparently, Richard Pitino is number 1 on their list.
I've seen that,
which would be funny. And I think there's no way he doesn't accept that job if they offer it to him.
No, not at all. I mean, you got to, right, at that point.
Yeah.
But
continue the Pitino legacy.
Continue it. But Noah, do you have anything else on the college basketball Sweet 16? I do want to talk women's for a minute.
No, I don't think we need to dive too deep into it. I mean, it's been super chalky so far. Maybe some of that'll change, but I mean, I don't think anything's super a hot take or crazy unless you're picking Clemson or NC State to go on some deep run at this point.
Yeah, and then even outside of NC State, is that really the craziest run? Who the hell are they playing?
Marquette.
Ooh, yeah, that might be a little crazy.
Who looks really
Marquette looks
damn good.
Peak form.
They got a complete team. Kolick is really fucking good. It's going to be really fun if we get a Marquette-Houston matchup because I think those are two of the best, if not the best, point guards in the entire nation in Jamal Shed and Tyler Kolick.
Yeah.
And two that get a lot of recognition, but not nearly as much as they deserve. So I'm hoping we get that Houston Marquette matchup. Fair
enough. Quinn in the chat, Sweet 16 picks. Houston might have a tough go. Houston.
Are we making our Sweet 16s picks before getting to women's, or you want to do
We want to just run through them real quick. I think it's pretty chalky.
We can. Yeah.
Do you think it's chalky? Well, let's start with Houston and Duke real quick. Duke 4-point dogs in this game. 134 is the total. Quinn, I respect where you're coming from with Houston might have a tough go, but as strong and as good as this Duke team has looked in the tournament, this is the definition of running into a pillar at 100 miles an hour, I think, for them.
Yeah, and I don't think Duke's going to shoot it the way that they have been.
No.
I mean, they came out and could not miss a fucking three.
They really couldn't.
Against JMU and cruised past them because of that. Houston did get burned by the 3-ball against A&M, specifically late when they had a 10-point lead with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
and A&M just would not miss a fucking 3-pointer. But that game was out of Houston's nature. I think with 4 or 5 days to prepare for Duke, they're going to have a good defensive game plan.
Yeah.
They're going to make it too hard on Duke to score the ball, and I think they're going to actually cruise past them.
I really do too. I don't see that as a hard fought game or anything. I see that as a late round 2 game we watched where it was just like, oh yeah, the team that's winning is supposed to win.
Yeah, I think A&M just caught them off guard, and A&M, great shooting effort, great size from A&M. You had 4 of the starting 5 of Houston foul out in that one, and
that helps a lot.
You're really shitting your pants in overtime there if you're a Houston fan. And, you got a guy who has played very minimal minutes all year, having to come in off the bench at the end of that one. 2 crucial free throws.
Oh, you don't want
made
it.
one
you
out
don't
of 2,
want it.
luckily, because if you missed both,
that would have been a tough spot. And he definitely would have lost any playing time for the rest of
But I think Houston
his career.
I think Houston bounces back, and I think they're going to show why they're a 1 seed, why they were, number 1 in the country for a number of weeks this year. And I think, Duke might put up a fight, but I like Houston by a good 8 to 10 points in this one.
I'm a big fan of Houston in this one. Moving back to back to the front of the slate, Noah. Clemson, U of A 7.5 point favorites. Any comments on it? Just U of A, bear down, go Cats.
Yeah, I think we'll handle Clemson just fine. I think play style wise,
matches up nice.
It's to our advantage. Like Clemson's very similar in a lot of ways to Colorado, and we beat the shit out of Colorado twice. So I think we're going to be fine. I just think with U of A and Clemson, we do everything just a little bit better than they do.
Yes.
And so I'm struggling to find a weakness for us in that one. Like I said, I'm worried about a few things going forward past Clemson, but I think we'll handle Clemson just fine.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no, we're handling Clemson fine. 7.5. I'm going to alt that line probably to 15.5.
That might be a little aggressive.
I know, but I'm aggressive, Noah.
Yeah, you're right.
San Diego State, UConn 10.5 point favorites. I mean, Noah, in the beginning of college basketball season, we like to say, you're going to see these good schools against bad teams with huge spreads, and you just got to take them.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're back in that same situation here. 10.5 points is a lot of points for a tournament game. A team like San Diego State, they've been there. They've been able to get there and have been able to win these important games. But, I mean, the definition of a buzzsaw is this UConn team.
Yeah, we got a national championship rematch from last year.
True. Yeah, you're right.
So that's fun.
2 very different teams, though.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like I touched on, San Diego State's defensive efficiency scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I have no reason to believe that UConn won't just run train on them. And until UConn shows that they aren't going to be absolutely dominant in this tournament, like, I don't think UConn hits a roadblock until the Elite Eight against Iowa State. That'll be tough because Iowa State's really damn good defensively.
Yeah.
I think Houston could cause them problems. And to be honest, I think those are the only 2 teams I'm worried about causing issues to UConn the rest of the way through.
Honestly, though.
And one will be in the Elite Eight, and the other, if they get past them, will be in the national championship, unless somebody else knocks Houston out, and then I think UConn repeats. So
yeah. No,
those just matchup wise, only 2 teams I'm worried about UConn losing to.
And Noah, this is coming as a sports analyst, like what we do and everything, not as a fan. But I'm looking at this bracket. Outside of Iowa State, I think we're looking at a back-to-back here.
Very well could be.
Oh,
Very well
man.
could be. And hey, for 2/3 of the season, UConn's been the number 1 team in the country. And,
Deservedly.
yeah, and then the only blip they had really after getting that number 1 was getting blown out by 20 points to Creighton.
Which we just can't have. Let's be real. We just can't have that.
I don't see that happening again.
No, not at all. The Tide and UNC 4-point favorites here. I've said it all season, and I still stand by it. I understand Alabama's in, the Sweet 16, but I think the SEC is weak. Give me North Carolina -4.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat there. I just can't get there with Alabama, and they beat a 12 and a 13 seed, and they're running their crazy fast and efficient offense, which is all good and dandy, but they've given up a lot of points.
Yeah,
and if they're going to play defense on UNC like they have the last 2 rounds, UNC is going to light them up for more than they can score.
Oh, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Illinois, the Illinois, going up against Iowa State. Iowa State 2-point favorites here. I can honestly say no. I've been waiting for this moment all season long, and that is when Illinois is eliminated from the tournament. Give me Iowa State -2 against, again, a subpar Illinois team. I don't think I can stress that enough, how subpar this team is and how lucky this team has got.
Well, they have a really good player, maybe one of the best players in the country, who should be behind bars, and they're riding that. And I think anybody who's aware of that should be rooting for Iowa State here.
Who's behind bars first, him or Diddy?
Well, Diddy, obviously, but if they catch him.
If they catch him. Again, Dog the Bounty Hunter, -130 at some books to catch him before March.
Well, in my opinion, it shouldn't even be thought of as a hot take by anybody. Terrence Shannon Jr. shouldn't even be playing.
No,
he shouldn't even be playing.
The fact he's allowed to play is unbelievable.
That's a failure on the part of the school, a failure on the part of the NCAA, and it's ridiculous that he's even playing. Illinois would have got bounced in the first round if he wasn't.
Yep.
Aside from that, he is an outstanding basketball
player. Great basketball player.
Illinois here. That's why they have like the number 1 offense in the country.
But should be behind bars.
Yes.
And
Iowa State's going to win and bounce them from the tournament.
Yeah, 2 points seems a little low to me, honestly.
I thought that when I saw that line come out at 2.5, what it opened up.
It opened up at 2.5. That is, I thought. See, honestly, and I haven't handicapped it to the full extent I handicap games to yet. I haven't looked at the money or anything on it. I thought that was a money move, and everyone was piling in on Illinois. I didn't know it opened up at 2.5. That's ridiculous.
So I think Iowa State's getting disrespected.
Yeah.
They have been disrespected. I mean,
this entire season, if we're going to be honest. Because even in the last AP ranking, they were sitting there at 17, between 17 and 12, I want to say.
No. They were up higher, but
they weren't top 10.
They were in the top 10 at the end of the year. Barely. They were barely inside of the top 10.
Okay.
They should have probably gotten a 1 seed in this tournament. They didn't. They had lines that were a lot lower than I was expecting.
Yes.
In both of the first 2 rounds.
You've been very profitable if you've been betting on Iowa State.
Yeah, and this one feels low as well.
Yeah.
I don't understand where the hesitation is on this Iowa State team, because you look at what they did this season, and they went from unranked to start the season, just had a crazy good season, beat Houston 2 out of 3 times, including a 30-point win in the Big 12 championship. And I don't understand why the public isn't heavier on Iowa State. I don't understand why these lines are not favoring them the way they should be. And I'm just going to keep riding it until I'm
not upset. I'm not upset about it. You know what I mean? We're just pointing out the fact that it's a short line.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them beat Illinois by 10 or 15 points.
Alt spread it?
They're so
Would
good.
You alt spread it?
Yeah, because they're so good defensively. I think they can lock up Terrence Shannon Jr. And I don't know what Illinois' game plan is if Terrence Shannon Jr. isn't playing. Their last game, they got a huge...
Well, they would be the first people to lock him up.
Or against Morehead State, they got a huge boost. That game was neck and neck until Dane Danger started going off, who's a
Dane Danger was unbelievable that game. Oh my God. I'd never seen this kid in my life before.
He scored 12 straight. Well, he's from pretty much my hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my cousin played basketball against him in high school.
No shit.
He was not that good. Somehow got a 4-star recruit rating. Went to Baylor for 1 year and then transferred to Illinois and has been on the bench now for 3 years straight at Illinois. And after getting 0 playing time on national champion Baylor. And I just don't get it. And I've never seen him put together a good game. And then he did against Morehead State. But that's a one-off fluke. We're not worried about that.
No.
And I don't know what Illinois goes to if Terrence Shannon Jr. is not putting up 30 points in a game.
Me either.
Because Coleman Hawkins is decent. He's been there for a long time, but he's not going to carry you to a victory, especially against a damn good team like Iowa State.
No. Iowa State, I'm loving them minus the 2. And then go ahead and put it on my card, minus the 15.
I just can't get there with Illinois.
No, not even a little. I haven't been able to get there all fucking season, though, but that might be a me problem.
They haven't been that good, though.
No, they really haven't. That's what pisses me off about the fact that they were in the rankings the entire season.
And
like, you sit down and watch a game because all of their games are televised and shit because they're a nationally ranked team. And you sit down there and you just are forced to watch shitty basketball out of the Big Ten.
Yeah, one-man
And
team.
yes, I might be a little bit more upset about this than I should be, but I've watched a lot of fucking Illinois basketball this season, Noah. It's awful, and I still am forced to watch more. My God, I hope Iowa State puts them in a grave.
And let's not get it twisted. They blew out two teams in a row.
Yes, they did. I get it,
No. Let me finish.
Okay, fine, finish. I'm going to grab a beer.
The first one was a 14 seed that they were neck and neck with for 30 out of 40 minutes in that game, and then ended up winning by almost 20 just because they went on some massive run in the last 10 minutes of the game. And then they blew out 11 seed Duquesne, who was only in the tournament because they won their conference. And they haven't played a good team in the tournament. And nothing like Iowa State. This is going to be night and day. Brad Underwood. Oh, another coach who's notorious for choking in the tournament.
to say, yeah.
So we got like 6 of them. He's not. I don't think he's the best coach out there, and I don't think he's going to have a good game plan for Iowa State. And if they can shut down Terrence Shannon Jr., I don't think he's going to be able to adjust. I don't think Illinois is going to know what the fuck to do.
I liked it when you said lock up Terrence Jr. instead of.
They should lock him up.
Well, I know.
I mean, Iowa
State would be the first people to lock him up, though. But
and the justice system. But
we'll get to there hopefully after the season. Keeping it moving. Quinn in the chat says there's no way State continues. Burns is ungraduated, though. I believe they're talking NC State and Marquette, Noah.
That says unguardable. I believe you're.
Oh, yeah, that does say unguardable.
I believe you're not incorrect. I don't think he has graduated.
I think he is an undergrad, too, yeah.
So that would be a correct statement.
So
I'm not the right words that were on the screen.
But I was correct.
You weren't wrong.
We love that. Marquette 6-point favorites here, Noah. Does NC State stand a chance?
Not the way Marquette's been playing.
No.
Although Colorado gave him a good run.
Did. Yeah.
But
Colorado, I think, and we talk about Pac-12. It was Colorado, it was Arizona, it's Oregon when they're healthy. Like, that was the 3 teams this year. And so I'm not.
Washington State, dude.
You're right. I forgot about Washington State because they performed so shitty this tournament, but
they won a game that they were underdogs in.
Yeah, but you and I both knew.
Yeah.
Like that was like that's I think that's part of the issue.
I think Drake was the trendy pick in that one.
Exactly.
And people jumped on it big.
And we're college basketball guys. We're like, no, this doesn't make any sense. Like we were expecting it. And so I think that's why it doesn't feel like a big deal to me.
Yeah. I do think NC State has a chance against Marquette.
I think they have a solid chance.
I look at Colorado, I look at NC State, and I think there's a lot of similarities there. You look at DJ Burns Jr. and Eddie Lampkin. I think DJ Burns Jr. a better version of Lampkin. I think the guards maybe not quite as good on NC State, but if I'm them, I'm looking a lot at that Colorado film this week. I'm looking a lot at that film, seeing what Colorado did specifically in the second half to close that margin and keep it close. And I would play Marquette a very similar way. I actually think this is going to be a close game, a tough fought battle, and I might like NC State to cover 6.5. I think Marquette still gets the win though, because
It's one of the it's
Their starting five is so good.
yeah, and I think NC State's underrated. If we're gonna be honest, they're when they win the ACC.
Well, they're hot. They're hot.
Very hot. You gotta stick with the hot hand sometimes. And let's also be real. This is our last kind of hope and anything of an underdog going far, as they were an 11 seed, right? My memory serves me.
Yeah, well, I would say Clemson too, but we're hoping that doesn't happen.
Well, I don't think you. Well, that's the issue. Is I don't believe Clemson stands a chance. So, keeping it moving quick. No, and then I do want to touch on women's. Gonzaga, Purdue 5-point favorites. This is one of the lowest Purdue spreads I've ever seen.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting because these two teams did play earlier this year in, I believe, Maui.
Yep.
And it was a close game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a close game in which Gonzaga shot under 20% from three. They had almost 20 turnovers, and it was still close down to the wire. They played really good defense against Edie, except for like when they wouldn't some possessions. But I mean, they shoot 30% from three in that game. They win that game.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's a two-way street because Purdue had some issues in that game as well. But I think Gonzaga has, and their center got in foul trouble, which tends to happen when you're playing against Zach Edey. And I think Gonzaga's got a real chance to win this one.
I do too.
And this one's a coin flip to me. This one's a coin flip.
I'll go further than a coin flip, Noah. I think that we are to the point where Purdue's fortune has run out. I really do. We've been waiting for that exit, and you know, they got through the first round, they got through the second round. But let's be real, there is with all of the teams that are left, Noah, would you take Purdue or the field?
Oh, the field.
Exactly.
Easy.
Exactly. I think
Purdue's, you look at odds to win the whole thing, it's UConn, and then it's Houston,
mm-hmm.
and then it's Purdue, and then it's Arizona. But Purdue and Arizona about the same odds. And I can't say I have a ton of confidence in Arizona to win the national championship.
No, but I also don't have a shit ton of confidence in anyone that's not named UConn to win the Natty right now.
I like Houston. I think Iowa State is a player in this.
Anyway, you detracted me, Noah. I was getting to the point where I don't see a world we live in where Purdue wins this game. I really don't. I think it is.
Feel that strongly, huh?
I do. And mostly it's from the way Purdue's been playing. They have, Purdue has not been playing to the level that, first of all, the national media thinks they can play to. Second of all, the level the nation thinks they can play to. And third of all, let's all remember, and multiple NFL scouts are quoted at this point, Zach Edey is at best a day 2 draft pick. NBA, sorry. What did I say? NFL?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to go play tight end.
No, I don't think so either. He might make a better tight end, though, than he does a fucking basketball player. But I think it runs out here for Purdue. Give me Gonzaga with the points, money line, all that shit. I think we definitely don't see as chalky of a weekend as we do last weekend. Ending it up, Noah, Creighton, Tennessee.
This one's tough. One's tough.
Yeah.
What's the spread on that? 2.5?
Yep, 2.5.
I think this one's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a battle. That Creighton-Oregon game was a battle. Man, somebody's got to win it.
Somebody does have to win, Noah. That is part of this.
Does Rick Barnes make the Elite Eight? I'm leaning towards that, but I think Creighton's going to have a real fighting chance in this one. I think it's going to be a really fun matchup of, you got Kalkbrenner and Shireman against Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
And if you love your white basketball players, this is the matchup for you.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's got to lose, so don't go crying too much. But you got a number of all conference guys on both teams here, and like I said, I think this one's just going to be a battle. I think it's going to be back and forth. We're going to see a lot of lead changes. I don't really see either of these teams getting out to a big lead on the other one. So I think this one's going to be down to the wire, back and forth the entire game. I'm thinking this might be the most entertaining, most fun game to watch of the Sweet 16.
I can't get there.
I think it's going to be a really fucking fun game to watch, and I think it's probably going to be the most entertaining of any of the games of this round.
And I think Tennessee and Alabama fans this weekend are going to be looking forward to football season.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
You know what?
You're on Creighton?
I'm big on Creighton, if we're going to be honest here. Creighton's a team that I've been following all year, and I not only do enjoy the way they play, I think they match up really well against Tennessee. And let's be real, Creighton's been the better team all season. Creighton has been the better basketball team this season over Tennessee. And when you get to this point in the tournament, Noah, it's not about
I don't know if I can get behind that statement. No,
you don't have to. You don't have to. I'm just saying what the facts are. And Creighton's been a better team than Tennessee. I have more faith in Creighton to win a basketball game. I have more faith in Creighton to finish a basketball game. I have more faith in Creighton to show up in the first half. Creighton, money line. I'm not even taking points there. I'm just slamming that money line.
I will say with Tennessee, I think they have been better than Creighton this season. My take on Tennessee, though, they've looked very, very good, and I've just been waiting for them to crack.
It's happening.
I've been waiting for them to crack.
We've been seeing the cracks
and
in the
it
armor.
hasn't happened yet. And that loss to Mississippi State.
Ooh, that was a bad one.
In the SEC tournament, which got Mississippi State in, wrongfully so, because they got shit on by Michigan State.
Yeah.
I can't say I won't take a lot of joy in it if Tennessee loses, but
fair enough.
But I think I got to pick them to win.
Fair enough. Well, Quinn, we ran through our Sweet 16 for you. Now, I do want to talk women's a little bit. No, did you have a chance to watch Iowa, West Virginia yesterday?
Yep.
Now, I mean, Noah, we're going to talk about this in a minute with Shohei, but I like to think all sports are on the up and up and everything like that, and everything is good, especially as sports gamblers and stuff. The integrity of the game does mean a lot to us. However, with that being said, I'm also not a naive, dumb piece of shit. And so I understand that, passing up on an LSU Iowa rematch in the Sweet 16 is probably something ESPN and the NCAA doesn't want to do.
It would be the
Elite Eight, my bad. Having West Virginia continue on to possibly have that matchup is probably not a great story. Having Caitlin Clark not play her best game in her last home game in Iowa, not a great storyline. And so I'm thinking about all of this while I'm watching yesterday's game, Noah. And honestly, it was one of the most damning. I hate to say it, but it almost felt like evidence of the league and everyone else getting involved. And, we can go off and say, like, yes, they were committing some of those fouls. Some of those fouls felt, a little soft. I felt officiating was off the entire game. I didn't like a lot of the calls they were making, and granted, college basketball and everything like that, but I don't know, man. Just it didn't. Yeah. I think Iowa still wins that game 9 out of 10 times, but I think yesterday was the one. If they didn't have a little bit of help.
Maybe. And yeah, I mean, I could argue, that maybe they got a little bit of help, but that's how West Virginia plays. Like,
true.
If you're focusing on free throw discrepancy, you look at West Virginia this season, they've had multiple games.
Oh, yeah.
With bad free throw discrepancy.
No, absolutely.
They play hard and physical. Their goal is to rough up the other team. And it worked for them.
I would say
until Iowa pulled away half.
Yeah.
It worked for him for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
It just didn't work for him for 4 quarters. I do think Iowa deserved the win there. I just want to point out, I think it's funny how on the internet people are just starting to realize that Caitlin Clark's kind of a piece of shit.
Well, duh.
And if you've followed women's basketball at all,
you kind of know that.
Until it's been in the spotlight, you know that she's pissy, always yelling at the refs, yelling at fans, yelling at other players. Her and Angel Reese, both terrible people.
I wouldn't go. Okay, so hold on.
There's some really awesome players who are really good people in women's college basketball, and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, really fun to watch. 2 of the best, if not the 2 best players in women's college basketball right now. They both are unpleasant people. Like, And you can see that if you watch the games, their body language, their read their lips, their verbal shit that they do on the court,
and
like
hard
fouling other players. Like they're like.
Let me follow up. Who else have we seen this from? Some names come to mind.
Oh, there's plenty of people on the men's side
and
that are
and
like that.
No, but no. But we're not just talking on the men's side. I want to talk about the greats. I want to talk about the Kobes. I want to talk about the Jordans. I want to talk about those guys that have been assholes, but they have been at the peak of their sport.
Oh yeah, I'm not taking anything away from their game. They're great fucking players. The two best players in college basketball right now, and Caitlin Clark having the best career ever out of anybody on the men's or the women's side. Yeah, talent wise, holy fuck, she's going to be an all-time great. And
I think there needs to be that demarcation. I think there needs to be that, because we let Brady, we let Jordan, we let Kobe get away with all of this shit, and now we're kind of clamping down on them. I mean, honestly, I'm not seeing anything out of Caitlin, Reese, or any of these women that is outside of the ordinary when it comes to the greats, or outside when it comes to the ordinary of very talented basketball players in this generation. I'm not seeing anything too far where I'm like, okay, that is.
Well, it depends on the player, and I just wanted to put that out there just because, Jordan was a piece of shit.
Yeah,
Jordan still is a piece of shit.
Yeah,
but you do enough on the court, and people will celebrate that, and it doesn't get talked about how you're a piece of shit. And I don't think it's any different here.
Fair.
Like, I was just noting that it's funny to see people finally picking up on that on the internet. And
I'm
like, have you never watched an Iowa women's game? Like, this is what
Caitlin Clark does. Yeah.
She throws elbows. She plays a little dirty sometimes.
And maybe because I'm desensitized to it, like, it's not as big of a deal to me. I just understand that's how she plays basketball and how she goes about it.
Oh, no. And I'm not saying that we need to shit on her or anything for it. I'm saying absolutely celebrate all these milestones.
Oh yeah, but no, she's
a
piece of shit.
I'm just saying, much like a Michael Jordan or something like that,
winning over everything.
If you're a parent, maybe not the athlete you want to tell your kids, hey, look up to them, be like them, play like them. When there's, and I hate to say it, LeBron, he's a little bit of a
he's a pussy.
Little bit of
LeBron's a pussy. We can go ahead and say that on here.
He's a little whiny, but LeBron's not a complete piece of shit. He just, I don't agree with some of the flopping and some of his bitchiness, but LeBron's not out here yelling "shut the fuck up."
No, but he's definitely on. He's definitely on something though.
And and there's plenty of other really good players. Like you look at like a Giannis who. He's totally chill.
Yeah,
and
Jokic, who really doesn't even want to be here.
Yeah, and plenty of that, a lot of that on the women's basketball side of things at the college and professional level. I just think it's interesting to note that the two
the greats expect greatness and are assholes about it. I get it.
The two top players right now are just kind of unsavory as people, but a lot of the Stanford players, South Carolina players, who are also some of the best players in the country, they're all great.
Yeah. No, and by the way, shout out to Juju Watkins. Honest to God, I can say I have not watched a lot of USC women's basketball. She is going to be a lot of fun these next couple of years. She's a freshman.
Well, we had two freshmen first all team.
It was her, and then
on the women's basketball side,
who the hell was the other one?
Name's escaping me.
It is. But no, I think it was it Sunday or Monday they played? I think it was Sunday.
USC?
Yeah.
Might have been yesterday.
It might have been yesterday, but it was the first time I've been able to really
I like Juju Watkins.
Sit down and watch her play. Like I've seen highlights and stuff, but like sitting down and watching her play, it's like, we got another baller. We got another
yeah, she's dope.
Yeah. And then last thing on women's basketball, Noah, and then we'll move on. I'm worried the WNBA is going to ruin Caitlin Clark. Like the WNBA has an absolute opportunity here to blow up, become the league that they're supposed to be, and become an actual league instead of begging for 100 fans to come to these games.
They've had these opportunities, and they've fucked up every opportunity. That
I know, and I'm just hoping because Angel Reese is in this class too, right? Is she declared, or does she have one more year?
Oh, she's.
I think if she doesn't, she has one more year of eligibility. which is fine. Then you're getting 2 top recruits, number 1 overalls with absolute star power, absolute name power, and actually talented at basketball. And so if the WNBA screws this up, I mean, first of all, this league is dead. Let's not pretend that it's not a dead league. Like, it's dead. You ask someone the last time they went to a WNBA game, they would ask you if we actually had a team in the city. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate to say it, but that's the way it is. It's a terrible product they put out there. We've talked about that at length, but they have the opportunity here with a star maker in Caitlin Clark, a star maker in Angel Reese, a star maker in Juju Watkins, a star maker in most of the ladies on South Carolina to like actually have a league where you can see competitive basketball.
Yeah, Angel Reese is a junior, so she could, if she decides to declare for the draft.
Oh, she won't. She's making too much NIL.
Well, and she'll be the number 1 overall pick next year.
Yeah, next year.
For coming back one more year.
Yeah, I mean, that's at least worth.
With Caitlin Clark out of the way.
And in the WNBA, that's worth at least $10.
Man. Yeah. And you know, I'm really excited to see that women's college basketball is growing exponentially in following. And you can look at it like, why is the WNBA not doing that? And I'll come back to, you know, what I've been arguing the last 2 years is it's just a terrible product. And it's terribly run.
Awful.
Because clearly women's college basketball, like I said, growing exponentially.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Following.
They figured it out.
Like a lot of people paying attention.
Yeah.
To the women's college basketball side of things.
And it's not just Caitlin Clark. It's all of these teams that have these absolute dogs and all these very talented women that go out there and they do their thing. And the WNBA is just somehow not figured out, we have all this talent, yet no one shows up to the fucking games.
Yeah, and you know, that's not what I went to school for, so I'm not going to try to analyze what the reasons are behind that.
Me either. But, it's unbelievable, though, that it occurs.
I do know the WNBA needs to figure something out, needs to make some changes because the potential is there, and for whatever reason, they've just never been able to capitalize on it.
And it's in a perfect time of the year where there's only baseball on. Like, the WNBA should thrive, and yet they've done everything in their power to make sure it doesn't succeed. It's unbelievable. But flipping Noah from star players to 1-star player. You seen this shit about Shohei Ohtani?
Oh yeah.
So he made a statement today. I don't know if you saw it. It was going to be an interview taking questions from the press. It ended up just being a statement. But he is sticking to the story that he was robbed. He is a victim in all of this and blah, blah, blah. After the story came out that Ipe asked Shohei for the money and he gave him the money so that he could pay off his gambling debts.
Theft. Maybe Shohei without a translator, doesn't understand what theft means.
He thought it was 2 completely different words in the English language. But
yeah, he heard gift.
Gift. I'm giving a gift, not theft. Okay. I can get behind that, but Noah, I'm sorry. And I love Shohei Ohtani. I'm the first person to sit up here and say Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player to ever live. I am not buying a single word he is selling about not being involved in this.
No. And I saw something today, very valid. I share the opinion completely. Until Ipe, is it Ipe or Ipe?
I'm going with Ipe.
All right. Yeah. Until there are charges pressed and he is in a jail cell, I don't buy this for a second.
Well, it's funny as you mentioned that, Noah, as ESPN is reporting as of 23 minutes ago that Shohei Ohtani's reps declined to answer which authorities they've contacted to report theft allegations versus the former interpreter. And so that leads then obviously to the question, did they even file charges? Or did Shohei just straight up be like, yeah, I'll cover your $4.5 million debts. I just didn't think we'd get caught.
Well, and the crazy thing about that, too, is like, even with the amount of money that Shohei's making, you're pressing charges if you're anybody, if somebody's allegedly stole
money,
7.5% of your annual salary. Like, that's like, you know, I know it's a shit ton of money and Shohei makes a shit ton, but like, you know, put yourself in the shoes of, you know, somebody steals basically 2 weeks worth of pay from you.
Yeah.
More than that. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah.
So somebody steals a paycheck and a half from you, and you're telling me you're not going to press charges on
I'm
that?
pressing charges immediately.
I'd be like, what the fuck? That's a lot of money.
Charges and some. It doesn't make any, and that's the thing about this whole thing. None of it makes sense to me.
It doesn't add up.
Nothing adds up.
Math ain't mathing.
No, math is not mathing. We all know math is not one of my strong suits, but even this math is not mathing for me. But we will keep an eye on that and see how that keeps developing, because that is some shit. I do want to touch briefly, Noah, on the NFL league meetings, because those occurred the last couple of days, and shit's been going off. Shit has been going off, and I think most importantly, Noah, the two biggest things. Huh?
Bang.
Oh, we're watching Indiana State and Cincinnati right now. Indiana State just took the lead. Let's go. But the two biggest rule changes, I think, coming out of this, Noah, the hip drop tackle and the kickoff. I texted you about the hip drop tackle today. And again, this was just through text, but you seemed very excited about it and very on board with it.
I don't know if excited is the right word.
What was the words for the text? As it
I
should
don't
be?
know. On board. I would say yes. I do understand, like, makes it harder on defensive players, and after reading more, I'm kind of more neutral about it, but it's you can get some messed up injuries from the hip drop.
Yeah.
So I understood that one.
No,
I thought it made sense, and clearly you don't see any offensive players complaining about this. It's only defensive players.
Well, and I mean, again, it was a meme I saw, but it made a very good point. And it was just some scared dude trying to tackle, like trying to, stand in front of a train. And it was like any defensive player when Derrick Henry is running up the gut, and you got to just sit there and take it. Like, I mean, I understand and yes, I agree. The hip drop tackle, especially this last season, caused a lot of injuries. But I'm also asking, what else do you want the defenders to possibly do? You can't let them lead with their head anymore. You can't let them put their weight on the body anymore. You
were never supposed to lead with your head,
but it wasn't a rule until recently. And so, people were doing what they had to do. But I don't know what else we can do to emasculate the defenders except put flags on everybody.
So here's the thing, though. Like, how many hip drop tackles do you think you see per game?
Oh, so many. So many.
Well, and
what is classified as a hip drop tackle from the video the NFL put out? You see a lot of hip drop tackles. That's essentially the only tackle that's used on the NFL field.
That's going to make a big difference, because I think, no penalty for most things, but the egregious, like, straight hip drop, obviously the hip drops on its own sometimes in the tackle motion. And
how are you supposed to hit a quarterback right now?
And
how are you supposed to hit a quarterback right now?
Those rules are stupid, but I think with the hip drop, like, so long as the refs are only calling it in extreme situations, I think it's a valid rule to have. It's like a horse collar, like, only like, you don't,
to a point. Yes.
Like, the horse collar doesn't get called if somebody's grabbing jersey on the back of the nameplate or anything. It's only if you get directly in there and pull somebody straight down, like a horse collar down to the side. That's not a penalty. And so I think if the refs call this the right way and are only calling these penalties on hip drops when they're really bad, like full body weight down sideways.
Yeah. So then
it's a good rule to have.
No, absolutely. So then my next question is, Noah, do we trust the NFL officiating crews to get this shit done right? No, exactly. Exactly. We are dealing with some of the most incompetent humans I've ever personally watched in my life. And we're adding then more judgment. We're letting them have more judgment on the play. Because could you imagine? I mean, you're looking at a fourth quarter, your team's down, and you break off you're down and the other team breaks off because it would work out for you either way. But either way, I don't see this. I don't see this turning out well. I don't see this ending out well. And I listened to an interview with a GM on the Pat McAfee show, actually, who was talking about the rule. Huh?
Your GM.
Was that mine?
Ryan Poles?
No, but he wasn't talking hip top. He wasn't talking the hip tackle. But they had another GM on who was, and he was like, this is more of a Tuesday, Wednesday penalty. Like, we're going to review the plays, and we're going to be able to fine you now. because of that tackle, to try to take the tackle out of football, which if that's how it's handled, if that is how it's handled, like this is so that we can start finding people, make them more aware of what they're doing.
Impacting the outcome of the
game. But right now they're talking about a 15-yard fucking penalty for tackles that these professional athletes have been doing for the last however many seasons. Are you shitting me?
And if this is the type of rule implement, though, where it's only getting called once or twice per week across every single game, I think
then it's not a problem. Then it's not a problem. Absolutely, it's not a problem.
Like
but again,
if there's 2 of these flags being thrown a week, then well, like you look at the offsides thing that they added that Kadarius Toney made famous.
Very famous.
That got called less than once per week this season. And I think when it happened to Kadarius Toney, it had been called like 11 or 12 times all season, which was like slightly under once per week. So they were calling it, and it was a new rule that was implemented.
Fair.
And if they're calling the same type of frequency with this one, I have no problem if it's like only 1 or 2 a week are getting thrown, because they're not going to have heavy game impacts. And if they want to go back and issue fines for this after the fact,
fine with that.
I'm not necessarily in favor of that, like shouting on the rooftops, this is great, because I think the players get fined too much as it is.
That's also fair.
But yeah, if you're looking at it from that perspective and it's not going to impact games, I'm not completely opposed to it.
No, I get it, but I think it's just going to take that 1 week where it's fourth quarter and, tied ball game, and then someone does a hip drop tackle. They call the 15 yards. That puts them into field goal range.
Be on Mahomes.
It'll definitely be on Mahomes.
Or against Mahomes or Kelsey.
Whoa, 100%. 100%. Not even close. But outside of that, Noah, the kickoff is still in the NFL. They're going to our XFL, UFL.
I love it.
Format. I just,
I'm a big fan of this kickoff format.
I am too.
My number one solution would be move the kickoff back to the 30-yard line.
Fuck that, move to the 25 at this point. These guys have got legs on them.
Where it was before. I love this kickoff format. I think it could be tweaked, so I would like it even
more
better. But I like the fact that if it lands between the 20 and the goal line, it has to be returned.
Yes.
Or you can fair catch it and take it at the 20.
Yes.
And also, why did we move the touchback from the 20 to the 25 ever?
Well, because they want the returns.
Yeah, and that clearly didn't help. And
no,
we've had less and less returns.
No.
I like football kickoff returns. This format helps with the injuries there.
I don't in the chat, hashtag save the knees.
I don't think we're going to see an end of kickoff returns for touchdowns. Now we're going to have kickoff specialists with a lot more emphasis on precision.
Yep.
And if you kick it out of bounds at the 1 or the 2 yard line, not as big of a deal. It's not going to the 40 anymore. It's 25 yards from where the ball went out of bounds. So you can really, if you can get your distance honed in, it's almost like a golf shot now. For kickoff.
If you can get a good hook going or something,
which is crazy because this is how punters have been, operating for a long time, and now it's about the precision on the kickoff.
Yeah,
it's not about booting it out of the back of the end zone. It's about, hey, can I kick this down to the 1 or 2 yard line so they have to return it from there, and your guys on the kickoff coverage don't have to run all the way down the field anymore. They shed one block, and you could have, kickoffs that result in a possession starting at the 8, 10, 12 yard line. If your kicker can very precisely get that ball the right distance.
and I think it might be the time we spent watching the XFL and this rule actually implemented. But when I think of between the hip drop tackle and this, I know I was very on my horse about the hip tackle, but I think this is a much bigger game changer for NFL teams than the tackle, because I think we're going to start
field
seeing
position.
Yes, it's all field position. I think we're going to start seeing more of like, when was the last time you saw a Devin Hester type? You know what I mean? A guy who was an absolute dog and you didn't want to punt to, you didn't want to kick to. And like, when was the last time you saw that?
Patterson.
Shout out to him. Shout out to him getting a deal to the Steelers today. That Steelers team is looking, if Russ can get dangerous, this team could be scary. But
Cordero Patterson was for 6 or 7 years there the best thing since
Yeah.
Devin Hester
Yeah.
in the return game.
And then the rules changed, and then that was kind of taken away and all that. But I mean, it was entertaining as hell in the XFL. I mean, it was a little gimmicky and stuff, but I mean, as long as they don't take the kickoff out of the NFL, I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think if you're a kicker, you like this because I think that will equate to higher salaries for kickers because
especially if you can nail that.
Not only are you kicking field goals and extra points now you got to be able to kind of precision. It went from on the kickoff, you're not just smacking your driver as far as you can down the fairway. Now you're hitting a 4 or 5 iron and
you're trying to get on the green.
You're trying to hit a green now. You're not just trying to hit it as far as you can into a fairway. So it's going to put more pressure on the kicker.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more importance to who your kicker is.
And who you're kicking to.
Because bad kickers, from an NFL standpoint, you miss some field goals, extra points. Yeah, that can cost you some games. Yeah, that can hurt. But if you're not getting it done on the field goal and extra point end, and then you're also giving the other team better field position, I think we're going to see more turnover from jobs on the kicker end, and it's going to be really, really interesting there. And I do think it will result in kickers getting a bump in pay.
Oh yeah, I do. I'm right there with you. I think this definitely, especially if you find that guy. You find that guy who can consistently, if you want him to.
Or we're going to see teams with 2 kickers. A kickoff specialist and a field goal kicker.
Well, we've seen that before in the past, and so that wouldn't be.
Usually it's the punter.
Yes, true. But now we might get. You're right. You might get 3 kickers.
You only get 53 guys on your roster. You need a punter, and if your punter and your field goal kicker can't
kick off
as well as you want to, we could see
some teams
potentially a team carrying 2 of their 53.
I don't see that happening
with a kicker.
No, two is more than enough. I don't think they will because I think it's to the point where, especially at the kicker position, there's so much turnover. Fine, you can't do it, so we'll find someone else who can do it.
Who can do both?
Exactly.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past one crazy coach or GM to be like, I want a kickoff kicker and a field goal.
Sean Payton's in cap hell this year, so he might just say F it and sign 3 kickers.
He's like, well, we can't afford skill position players, so let's just get another kicker.
You're actually our 3rd kicker and our backup quarterback, so just be ready at all times. Oh, man. But besides that, I mean, they announced that you can now get a 3rd challenge if you get 1 right.
1 right or 2 right?
Was it 2? I thought it was if you got 1 right, you got another one on top of your other one.
No, if you get 1 right, you get a 2nd, and then I think if you get
the 2nd, you get the 3rd.
Yeah, if you go 2 for 2. And honestly,
I love that. I
think you should have unlimited challenges if you keep winning them.
I'm with you.
The second you lose your challenge, you don't have another one for the rest of the entire game because then that'll prevent
every call challenge.
But I think every time you win your challenge, you should get that challenge flag back because
yes, and I've thought about that.
You're calling the refs out saying you were wrong, and then they have to tuck their tail between their legs and go, "Yep, you're right, we were wrong." And the courage to do that because the challenge success rate's
it's low,
under 20%.
Yeah.
So I think every time you win a challenge, you should get your challenge flag back.
I'm with you. So I thought about that. And I thought about then again how much we complain and bitch about NFL refs at all times. And I mean, you get a coach like Dan Campbell. I was reading some stat. Dan Campbell was very good at challenges last season. But you got a guy like him who just gets hot on 3, 4, 5 challenges. I mean, that just ruins pace of play.
I'm all for it,
pace of play.
Keep the refs in check.
Well, I mean, hey, the NFL's not going to do it, so someone's got to.
Yeah, then keep them in check.
Yeah, keep them in check. But, I mean, that's kind of all I have from the NFL league meetings and the Cordell Patterson signing. I mean, we'll get into the NFL a lot more when draft season comes around.
Which is less than a month away.
Yeah, we got that less than a month away. We got MLB tip-off. First pitch in 2 days. And I do just want to shout out the Chicago White Sox real quick because I was handicapping yesterday, and we were 3 days away from first pitch yesterday. Now we're 2 days away from pitch.
Oh, yep.
And
that's how days work.
That is how days work. And somehow it stayed the same. 99% of the money, like 84% of the bets against the Chicago White Sox for their home opener at home. They're playing in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're
going to be bad.
They're bad.
They're bad. Okay.
They adapted this fun little approach where they sign all these guys who were former Kansas City Royals after they're gone, and we know how the Royals perform typically, which is
oh my God, that'd be like the Bears signing all players from the Panthers.
Which is funny because the White Sox went from like mediocre team, and you got this division rival in the Royals, who is almost always last place unless the Tigers decide they wanted to be last place that year. And the White Sox strategy was those guys,
those are the guys,
and it's not just players,
coaches,
their manager, their other coaches. They just are like every time the Royals want to get rid of somebody, we will take them because one of the worst 5 teams in the league doesn't want them. Our player.
So that should be the new Chicago White Sox slogan. If you're not good enough for the Royals, you're good enough for us.
And yeah, I don't know what the fuck the White Sox are doing,
bro. They're doing Moneyball. They're reinventing Moneyball. That's what they're doing. But like they're just not paying anybody and not getting anything in return.
The White Sox are like if I went and played franchise mode or whatever it's called on MLB The Show, just piss drunk at 2 a.m. That's how
I can win a World Series with this team.
Go sign some like I'm like, oh, okay, I got this payroll to work with.
Sign the 19-year-old Dominican kid that has never pitched in the league, and he's your starter. He's your ace. There you go.
And I'm just seeing all these washed veterans, and I'm like, they're cheap.
They're cheap.
I want them. Yes, that's going to cause a winning team. And yeah, we might need to drug test the
owner GM.
Yeah, just drug test everybody in upper management. At
yeah,
White
if
Sox.
You find any psychedelics, let's get them out of there so we can get a at least entertaining AL Central.
I don't know what they're doing. And like 2 or 3 years ago, they were favored to win the division. And
again, it's one of those things. Whatever you're smoking, if you could please share it with us, because it sounds like a great time if you're making these type of moves. But
2 years ago, I think they were the favorite to win the division.
Yep.
And then last year, they were projected to finish 3rd.
Yep.
And be just a couple games over or under 500. They were supposed to be right about a 500 team last year.
And they sucked ass.
Yeah, and now they've gotten even worse. And, they've got this really nice milkshake that you can get, though.
Dude, the milkshake does look good. Okay, the milkshake does look good. I may go to a White Sox game for that.
So there's that. They have
when your team sucks, you got to have shit like that to bring people in.
Yeah, until they need to start dropping concession prices because nobody shows up to the game, so nobody's buying anything.
Noah, as a Diamondbacks fan, I will tell you personally from personal experience, just how no matter how bad your team is, you're still paying $16 for a beer. They may have dropped it to $15.50, but you're still paying all that concession prices. Maybe different in Chicago, but out here in Arizona, no. You want a beer and you want to watch our shitty team, you're going to pay full price for that beer to watch the shitty team.
In the World Series last year.
Again, this was 2 years ago when I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
D-backs definitely coming in second place this year. Wild card spot.
I see it.
Unless Yamamoto blows out his shoulder in the first game. But he's not even their starter, which is hilarious that the Dodgers aren't starting.
And Shohei gets banned from baseball.
LOL. Well, hey, I mean, I will say this about Shohei. I do believe the fact that he never bet on baseball. I believe that.
He's got to be involved somehow, though.
No, he is 100% involved. There is no ifs, no questions in my head about it. The story's changed too much. The stuff he's been saying.
I think he willingly covered Ippei's gambling debts.
Okay. Or he thought the Chicago Bears were going to be a lot better this season, was taking them.
I don't know.
I don't know.
A lot of details going to develop. We'll see what happens.
They will. But Noah, that I think is all I have for the night. You got anything else?
Nope.
Well, I guess we'll do the thing. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Shout out again to our 450 incredible followers here on Rumble. Appreciate each and every single one of you. We'll be live again later this week. I'm going to be live for the U of A game, I decided, because I get off about half an hour before that game starts. Yeah. Yeah, and the entire time I'm live on stream, I'm gonna just text you updates and torture you. And so I do apologize, but
I'm gonna be lucky if I can catch the full second half. I should get home from work.
you should be good.
I bet I get home from work with about 12 to 15 minutes left in the second half. So I bet I'm gonna be 5 to 8 minutes.
Extra long. This is the Sweet 16, though. I think we're gonna get a longer overtime. You might catch 17 to 15.
I'll have to commission somebody to go run out on the court and cause some protest issue to delay the game.
If there's any U of A fans out there, please unplug something, do something so that Noah can get back and watch the second half of the game.
Don't get yourself arrested.
No, please don't get arrested. Oh, for the love of God, please don't get arrested. That's the last thing we need. But
a nice little hour and
but
a
again,
half long delay to the start time.
You're walking past something and there's a cord that accidentally trips you and you kick it out and then they have to reset the system. I think that's askable. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's a mistake. You made a mistake.
Sneak a rock in, throw it at the backboard and shatter it.
Don't do that because then we don't get a game. I know for a fact those scumbags at the NCAA do not have a backup.
Yeah,
they do not think that far ahead.
No, that's happened before. They definitely have backups. But either way, I digress. Don't do anything.
Do not get arrested, but please, if you could delay the game so Noah can get back for the second half, we would appreciate it.
Well, preferably the whole game,
but then that throws my day off.
Man,
well. With all that being said, thank you again for listening and watching. I, of course, am the Brofic 20 AJ. That's the Money Train Noah. We'll see you next time on Degenerate Takes. Maybe.